tonight. Apparently, one of our cameras isn't working, but the sound should be working, and perhaps the live stream viewers will see the backs of our heads and the fronts of your faces, which is great. I would now like to invite Mr. Gary Blackburn, who served as the mayor pro tem of our town's first town council in 1998, forward to offer the invocation. Please rise.
Please bow your heads. Dear Lord, thank you for allowing us the privilege to gather together this day. We ask your blessing on this meeting and ask that you would guide and direct those who meet to conduct the town's business with wisdom and respect for one another. Thank you for the ability and willingness of those present to be involved in useful work for our town and the honor of bearing appropriate responsibilities. I pray for our mayor and for this assembled council. Please grant them the wisdom to govern amid conflicting issues, give them the ability to work together in harmony, and to find joy in their task. Amen. In closing, as we enter this Christmas season, I would offer a line from Desiderata: therefore be at peace with God, whatever you conceive him to be, and whatever your labors and aspirations in the noisy confusion of life. Keep peace with your soul. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blackburn. I'd now like to invite the 6 Northwest Middle School student ambassadors forward to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. We're so happy you're here with us tonight.
Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. We'll now move to item 2 of our agenda, which is the approval of our agenda. Council, is there a motion?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the agenda.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, we'll proceed to a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The motion carries and the agenda is approved. We now move to item 3 on our agenda, which is approval of the minutes from our November 7th regular meeting and closed session. Council, you've had the opportunity to review the minutes. Is there a motion?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the minutes of November 2, 2023 regular meeting and November 2, 2023 closed session.
I think it's November 7th, right?
Oh, it's second.
Oh, it is
Actually,
second.
says
Okay,
second.
I said the wrong, no, I'm sorry about that. Thank you. The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, the motion carries, and that both sets of minutes are approved. The approved minutes will soon be posted on our town website, where residents can also find the minutes from other past meetings. We now move to item number 4, resolutions, proclamations, and announcements. And I'm sorry to say that unfortunately Representative Faircloth can't be with us to present the flag that was flown in honor of Oak Ridge's 25th anniversary at the state capitol tonight, but either he or Representative Hardister will be with us soon. A family issue came up for Representative Hardister. I do want to recognize that today is Pearl Harbor Day, and I hope we will all remember that holiday. Well, not a holiday, that we will all observe that day. Thank you. We'll now move to item number 4, a report from the Guilford County Sheriff's Office. Do we have a representative here tonight? I know sometimes they're understaffed, so they might not have been able to spare someone to come. Do we have copies of the report on the back table? So if anyone wants to see that, council has received it by email, and you're welcome to take a look at it as well. I'll now move to item number 6, which is a report from the Oak Ridge Fire Department, and we have Chief Gibson, the top brass here, tonight to give the report.
Thank you. All right, so for the month of November, we answered 99 calls for service, 48 of those being EMS calls. Next is 31 calls for, could be animal rescues, people locked out of their cars, just assistance calls with helping people up if they've fallen and so on. Others were structure fires. We answered 5 calls for structure fires in neighboring districts. And for training hours, a total, and this total includes with our volunteers, 461 hours of training for the month of November. I'd like to say we are currently underway with our training facility. It has been a 4-year endeavor of trying to get this accomplished, and we have started the grading and should have it completed, projected the end of December. Once that's completed, we will invite the public to come and see, walk through if interested. Also, at this time of year, we have a lot of what we would call controlled burns, people burning yard debris, brush fires. We get numerous calls at the station asking about a burn ban. The best way to find that out, if you go to online, North Carolina Forestry Service, front page, it will tell you any burn bans that are in effect. Also, when doing outside burning, please attend the fire. If it's a windy, even if it's not a burn ban, if it's a windy day, if it's really dry, please use some common sense and don't do it. Also, we've had a couple of calls that people are burning business debris, meaning people with landscaping businesses, land clearing, they're burning their large piles of debris. That is illegal without a special permit from the Forestry Service. So with that, that's all I have. If anyone has any questions.
I just want to let you know that one of those 99 calls was to my house for a false alarm, and I really appreciate the thoroughness of your crew to make sure that my house was safe. It probably was the first time the heat went on or something like that, that put some dust in it or something.
That happens a lot this time of year. The first time individuals turn their heat on, you get that kind of odor where it's burning the dust and everything off, and some people panic. That's
Well,
okay.
we actually were up in New Jersey when it happened, so it was all done. Yeah,
I
so
understand you were out of town, but was able to communicate through your Ring camera?
yes,
what you
yeah,
might
that came
have.
in very handy, yes. So,
Yeah.
but I appreciate the thoroughness that your crew did.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. We'll now move to item number 7, which is our annual financial report, and I'll invite Mr. Chad Cook, Director at Forvis, forward to present the annual financial audit. Thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you for having me. Each of you should have 3 documents that were passed out before the meeting. So in front of you, you should have, number 1, a copy of the fiscal 2023 annual financial statements for the town. In addition, we also have our report to the town council, which includes some required communications as a result of our audit. And then lastly, we have a 1-page financial summary, which is essentially just a highlight of some of the financial data from fiscal 23 as compared to 22. And I've got some comments prepared regarding some changes you may see if you're comparing those figures year over year. As a result of our audit, we are issuing an unmodified or clean audit report. The audit was uploaded to the LGC last week. So that is currently under review by the LGC. We would expect that they would finish their review sometime within the next week. This year, we did not have a single audit or a compliance audit. There was a question kind of heading into the audit year if we were going to need one or not. but because the town did not meet the expenditure thresholds of $500,000 for state funds and $750,000 for federal funds, we were not required to have a single audit this year. The town did obviously receive a significant amount of ARPA funds during the year, as well as some other grant funds, such as the PARTIF funds and some SCIF grants. However, the funds have not yet been expended for the Heritage Farm Park Phase 1 project as of June 30th, 2023, so that's most likely going to be a fiscal 24 issue. So next year, we'll certainly take a look at that and see where we are in terms of the progress on those projects, and we could have some additional compliance reporting. This year, we will not have that. Though we didn't have a single audit, our audit was completed this year in accordance with government auditing standards, or the Yellow Book. That is new. We haven't had to do that in a while because the town did meet the Yellow Book threshold, which is a much lower threshold than the single audit threshold. So we did have to perform some limited compliance testing, as well as report on internal controls over financial reporting. Happy to report that as a result of that, we did not identify any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in internal controls over financial reporting as a result of our audit, nor did we identify any instances of non-compliance that would be material to the financial statements. As I mentioned, we will cover the financial information through the one-page financial summary, so we're not going to go line for line through the financial statements. Certainly, if anyone has any questions as I'm going through the information about any of the content of the statements, I'd be happy to stop and answer those questions. You will notice that the financials are a little bigger this year, so that there are a couple more funds, which we'll get into that detail as we're looking through the financial summary. But the main highlight would be that the town now has 2 governmental funds. So in the past, you may recall, the town's always had the general fund, and everything has flowed through the general fund. Well, for fiscal 23, we now have an additional governmental fund. It's the Phase 1 Heritage Farm Park Capital Project Fund, which will account for that project, funded by ARPA revenues of $1.6 million, PARTIF funds of $490,000, debt proceeds of $3 million, and then a transfer from the general fund balance of about $214,000. In addition, the town now has a water fund reported as an enterprise fund, which is why you'll now see separate columns for governmental activities and business type activities when you're looking at exhibits 1 and 2. In the past, you just had the governmental activities. Enterprise funds are considered business type, so future water fund activity will be presented in those columns. This year, a fairly limited amount of activity in that. There was the $50,000 of seed money for the water fund, and then there was the purchase of some inventory, which you'll see on the balance sheet. But obviously, the fund not being operational in fiscal 23, there won't be any operational results to report on. Moving on now to our report to the town council, so that would be the smaller document, or the bound document that was handed out. This does contain some required communications. It's pretty standard. A lot of the information within it is the same as what was presented last year, but these are things that we are required to report to you all as the governing body. I already mentioned the fact that we will be issuing a clean opinion, or issued a clean opinion on the financial statements for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2023. Our firm is responsible for forming and expressing opinions about whether the financial statements are prepared in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States, which for governmental reporting would be the GASB standards. We do like to point out that an audit is designed to obtain reasonable rather than absolute assurance about the financial statements. So the scope of our audit tests were established in relation to the financial statements taken as a whole and did not include a detailed audit of all transactions. Moving on, we'll go to page 3. Government auditing standards. This, as I mentioned earlier, this year we did have some additional standards to audit under. These are basically tack-on standards to the basic auditing standards we have to follow every year due to the level of state and federal funding received. As I previously mentioned, we also provided reports as of June 30th, 2023 on internal controls over financial reporting and on compliance and other matters based on an audit of the financial statements in accordance with those standards. And as a result, had no significant deficiencies, no material weaknesses, and no instances of non-compliance to report. Moving on to the next section, this is kind of broken up into a few different areas. So we've got qualitative aspects of significant accounting policies and practices. So number 1, significant accounting policies. Should there be any new accounting standards implemented during the year, or if there were unusual policies or methods being utilized by management or alternative accounting treatments being used, we would be required to report those here. We have no such items to report. There was one standard that did impact the town. It's GASB 96. We won't go into too much detail on it, but essentially it's a standard about looking at your subscription-based IT arrangements, so software arrangements that could be on a long-term basis. We did analyze the town's agreements to determine if an entry needed to be made to bring those liabilities on the books, and determined that it was not material to the town, so you won't see that reflected within the financial statements. Moving on to page 6, management judgments and accounting estimates. We do like to point out that the financial statements inherently contain estimates within them. And the two significant estimates that we like to point out, number one, management's estimates of depreciable lives of capital assets. So certainly management has to elect depreciable lives of all the capital assets. The assets are then depreciated over those lives. Those are based on the expected useful lives of those individual assets. We assess those, make sure that they're reasonable, they're in accordance with industry norms and standards, and recalculate to make sure that those are proper. But I do like to point out that those are estimates. And then second, management's estimates of the liabilities related to the pension plan. You will notice in the financial statements this year, the pension liability for the town did increase. That's something statewide. So as the town participates in the local government employees retirement system, the state gets a valuation done every year. And essentially, they hand you what your portion of that liability will be. We do procedures surrounding the evaluation provided by the actuaries, as well as the audit that the state does to ensure that the data reported is accurate. But we do like to point out that that is a significant estimate within the financial statements, which can fluctuate quite a bit year to year. This year had a lot to do with just discount rates and performance also on the assets that the plan invests in. Moving on, page 7, adjustments identified in the audit. Should we come across any material audit corrections during the course of our audit, we would be required to report those. Happy to report we did not have any material adjustments. We did have a small amount of proposed and recorded adjustments during the audit, which we've gotten a bullet point there related to some just miscellaneous adjustments to accounts receivable, and as well as revenues and unearned revenues. But again, a very, very small number in relation to the financial statements as a whole. We would also be required to report on any uncorrected misstatements. So should we come across misstatements during the audit that management elects not to correct, we will be required to report those to you. Happy to report no uncorrected misstatements as a result of our audit. That's pretty much it for this report. There are some additional pages that kind of go into more detail about some things I've already spoken to. And there's also an attachment that contains management's representations. It's representations that management makes to us before we issue our final report, basically just taking responsibility for the information within the statements and any the information that they have provided to us for audit. Does anyone have any questions about that report before we go into the financial summary? Okay. All right, so moving on to the financial summary, which is just the one-page document that I handed out. I've got a few bullet points that we'll go through. Number one, cash and investments across all funds. This year, cash and investments are up to $7.6 million versus $4.5 million in the prior year, for a roughly $3.1 million increase. That aligns with the additional ARPA grant funds received, which were about $828,000 during fiscal '23, as well as the $3 million of debt issuance for the capital project. So you still have the cash from that $3 million loan for the Heritage Farm Park project that they're on the books at 6/30/23. Net of a repayment of the Whitaker loan, which is about a $1.2 million payment during the year to take out that prior debt. Roman numeral 2, general fund available fund balance. The available fund balance in the general fund did decrease this year, so it's at $2.7 million versus $3.6 in the prior year. That's a decrease of 23.1%, which aligns with just the overall decrease in fund balance in the general fund. So there was a decrease in fund balance in total in the general fund of about $700,000. We've got some more information related to the revenues and expenses on these further bullet points, so we'll kind of go into those here in a minute. Moving on to Roman numeral 3. So this is where we've got the general fund revenues and other sources. Number 1, ad valorem taxes or property taxes. This is the town's most significant source of revenue. It is at $1.1 million this year versus $943,000 in the prior year. You all probably recall in 2022 there was a revaluation done by Guilford County. So property tax bills went up countywide. There was not an increase in the tax rate, so the tax rate remained flat. So the increase there is just a result of the revaluation done by the county, as well as additional developments that could have come online during the year. Unrestricted intergovernmental entities, this includes things like your sales tax, utilities, distribution tax, things of that nature, increased about $100,000 or 11% year over year. Sales tax receipts were up $58,000 or 17%, and that's really just due to an increase in economic activity within the town. And then in addition, the ABC distribution was also up $29,000 or 13.5%. which I suppose just means people are buying more alcohol. Restricted intergovernmental revenues did decrease about $20,000. In the prior year, the $50,000 line item that you'll see there was made up of a state capital infrastructure revenue of $50,000. In fiscal '23, the restricted intergovernmental revenues relates to $29,000 of some of the MST grant revenue, and so the Mountains to Sea Trail that we received from the state, and so that's what's making up that line item this year. The town did also receive a $75,000 state capital infrastructure fund grant in fiscal '23. Those funds were received, but they have not been recognized in revenue yet because the related project at the Redmond House has not started yet, so that those revenues should be reflected when those expenditures are incurred, most likely in fiscal '24. Moving down, just a couple other line items. We've got permits and fees. Did decrease a bit, but overall, not a significant source of revenue for the town. Investment earnings did increase about $41,000, so that was as a result of just an increase in, number one, what we mentioned before, the amount of cash held by the town, as well as an increase in interest rates during the year that's driving some of that investment earnings there. Then lastly, miscellaneous revenues, it's made up of just other revenues that don't fit these other categories, increased about $12,000, or so fairly consistent with the prior year. Moving down to Roman numeral 4, general fund expenditures and other uses. For the general government category, expenses were at $1,048,000 this year versus $749,000 in the prior year. It was a roughly $300,000 increase. Within that, personnel costs increased about $63,000. Capital outlay expenditures increased $215,000. So in fiscal '23, capital outlays for the general government function includes about $185,000 under the contract with the Wooten Company related to the water tank project. So I know that there's been some discussion potentially of capital project fund happening for that in a future year, but for fiscal '23, all those expenditures are within the general fund, and they're within the general fund, or the general government category. So that's a lot of what's driving the increase there if you're looking year over year. Cultural and recreational, so the town park is at $705,000 this year versus $1.15 million in the prior year. Again, this swing is largely related to capital outlays, so capital project activity. In the prior year, there was capital outlays decreased about $540,000 from the prior year. So overall, exclusive of the capital outlays, there were some other categories that were up. Personnel costs increased about $41,000, and then operations and maintenance costs increased about $40,000 as well. Lastly, there is a line item this year within the general fund, a $50,000 transfer. That was, as we previously mentioned, the seed money for the water fund. And so that's an additional line item that you'll see in the financials this year that we have not had in the past. Overall, Roman numeral 5, we've got the percentage of available fund balance to the budgetary basis expenditures and other uses. So this is just sort of a quick check on the health of the fund balance within the general fund. It's at 91.56% this year versus 167.5% last year. That's very healthy. At the average of similar units provided by the LGC statewide is about 63%. And the fiscal '23 figure is probably a little bit deceptive because of the large payoff of the Whitaker loan. So you've got expenditures of about $1.2 million increasing. The general fund expenditures, which goes into that calculation, exclusive of that, if you were to pull out the debt service expenditures, you'd be at about 154%, so a little more comparable to the prior year. Then lastly, we like to show the property tax collection percentage. The LGC does consider collection rates below 97% of budgeted amounts to be a potential negative performance indicator. The town's collections are through Guilford County and are well above that threshold, so at 99.74% this year versus 99.64% in the prior year. So overall, a lot of stuff going on within the town this year. As we mentioned, the financials are a little bit more extensive this year than they have been in the past. But Sam and his team, the finance department, have done a great job of keeping the records, and they always do a great job of responding to all of our audit requests to make sure the audit goes smoothly. And so, again, happy to report clean opinion, no control deficiencies to report, and certainly if there's any questions any of the members of council may have, we'd be happy to answer those now.
Council, any questions for Mr. Cook?
Outstanding.
Thank you. I know we're really excited that this is a clean opinion. We appreciate all your work and all the work of our staff and of Sam Anders and his staff. We're very grateful for all you've done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have to make a motion?
Do we have to accept it?
Nope.
Nope.
It's presented and it's done.
Oh, okay.
So we'll now move on to item number 8, recognition of outgoing council. This is a special time tonight. I'd like to recognize our outgoing council members, Spencer Sullivan, Martha Pittman, and George McClellan. I'll begin by offering all council members the opportunity to speak, starting with Councilman Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Normally, I speak very briefly and without notes. This is, as our mayor has indicated, a special night, so I'm going to be speaking a little longer and using notes so I don't get lost. I want to first offer my congratulations to Messrs. Hartman, Stone, and Greason on their election. I do wish you well. This is a difficult and time-consuming job that you've chosen to take on, and you're to be commended for your commitment to serve our town. And I want to offer my thanks to Councilman McClellan and Councilwoman Pittman for their many years of service, both on council and in other capacities for the town. They have both given generously of their time and talents to help make Oak Ridge a better place. And I want to thank our citizens for allowing me to serve you as a councilman for almost 10 years and as mayor for 4.5 of those 10. When I stepped down 4 years ago, I did not expect to serve on council again. But the untimely passing of Doug Nodine and my appointment by council to fill his seat gave me that opportunity. And I've sought to honor Doug's memory with my service in his place. This has truly been a privilege and an honor to serve you all these years. My faith means everything to me. It's my guide, and I've sought to serve you with integrity and humility, always respecting and valuing your opinions. And I want to take just a minute to pass on some things that I've learned along the way these past 10 years to our incoming council. We have an incredibly talented, dedicated, professional, and knowledgeable staff who are great resources of information and guidance. Our committee chairs are an equally valuable resource. Trust them and use them. They'll make you better. And I've found that our local government works best when council and staff collaborate and seek consensus on any issue. That's difficult sometimes and almost impossible, but talk to each other, share your thoughts, work together, even when you disagree, especially when you disagree. Good communication is critical to good government. And perhaps most importantly, learn to listen and learn to appreciate the opinions that are different than yours. You'll gain a broader perspective, and you'll make more informed decisions. And to our citizens, I love seeing a full council chamber when we're having a meeting going on. This doesn't happen very often. I see a lot of familiar faces, some less so. But I want to encourage you to make it a habit to come to council meetings every once in a while. This is where you learn about the business of our town. And it's also where you get 2 opportunities during each meeting to express your opinion to council, not just on stuff that's on the agenda, but on any subject, anything at all that you want to talk about. How else is council going to know what you're thinking? Now, the ultimate way that you express your opinion is by voting. But sadly, only 17% of our eligible voters voted in this last election. But that's been our history. It's been that number many, many years now. So perhaps only 10%, of our voters elected our new council members. To the other 90%, council's not going to know what you're thinking unless you tell them. If you can't make it to a meeting, call them, email them. communicate, get involved. And to our new council members, remember, you represent that 90% too, not just the 10% that voted for you. Oak Ridge has been my home for almost 50 years. I'm not going anywhere now. And I will continue to offer my services to our town in any way that might be helpful. And again, I thank you for allowing me to represent you. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Pittman.
Thank you. That was actually pretty quick. When I first wrote mine, timed them, I came out about 12 minutes. So I went back and cut it. I will start with gratitude to the residents, friends, and neighbors. Thank you for trusting me to represent you for the last 4 years. Your support strengthened me, and I became better informed when you challenged me. I ask that you continue being council's conscience. That's who you are. You're our conscience. To our committee and board members, I can't say enough about how I feel your work is so important. We say just about every meeting how much you mean to us and how valuable you are, but we really do run on the people that give their time and their energy and their love to our town. And I want to thank you for teaching me, advising me, and for working side by side with us to accomplish shared goals, not under orders, not under directions, but side by side. Members of council, without exception, you have all helped me grow as a person. Doug Nodine is not with us, but I want to acknowledge his influence on me. I sat there and he sat here, and we shared a lot of looks and glances. He was always available to chat if I had a question. And he also set the example of how to agree to disagree with civility, then vote and move on, even when we found ourselves in strong disagreement. I hope we all learn from that example. I'll single out a few things about the people that I've served with in the last couple of years up here. George, thank you for taking a hike with me to celebrate the 40th birthday of the Mountains to Sea Trail. That was the beginning of my direct involvement with the town of Oak Ridge and the Friends of the MST. With your encouragement, I became one of the first co-chairs of the committee, and I believe our other first co-chair is here. And I began my relationship with the larger trail community whose relationship will continue as long as I am able. That wonderful committee has accomplished so much in the last 6 years. Your relationships with other elected officials have played an important role in securing funding for our local projects, and I thank you. Whenever the door was open, it was unlocked, you have shown up, ready to serve. Jim, thanks for encouraging the rest of us to embrace technology to help us work better and more efficiently, particularly during our COVID period, as I call it, which is how I started. It was a little weird because I came on council and 2 months later we were shut down. Thank you for your work with the Youth Association, and thank you for always bringing the big blue sky ideas to the table. Spencer, thank you for sharing your experience and knowledge with me. And as you said, it's important to listen, and I thank you for always being there to listen. For 2 years as MST co-chair, I watched you lead council. And what I experienced in those meetings sparked my desire to serve on council. Your leadership, tenacity, you got some of that too, And hard work has gotten us where we are today on our water projects that will allow us to provide safe and reliable water for fire suppression and residents. That is planning for the future at its best. Mayor Snyder, I believe that you and I have grown better together over the last 4 years. We've taught each other a lot. And together, along with the rest of council, we have accomplished a great deal. You have the proven ability to take ideas and put them into practice, and the skills to take plans, turn them into projects, and see those projects completed. I learned a lot from you about effective policy, best practices, and strategic vision. And your ability to engage individuals, local and across the state, in our shared missions is unrivaled. I found early on that if we were going to have a meaningful discussion, Ann and I, about just about anything, I'd better have my copies of all the town plans handy. Because rarely did we discuss anything without considering the matter in context with one or more of our town's plans. You have been an effective ambassador for Oak Ridge with other municipalities and community organizations. Those relationships make us stronger and better prepared for the future. I appreciate your leadership, hard work, and your friendship. For the record, I would not change any substantive vote I cast in the last 4 years, including the farmhouse vote, because every vote was made in good faith and believing that the decisions were right and good for Oak Ridge and her citizens. Excuse me. You can't talk about the team without talking about our town staff, our park staff, our finance officer, and our town attorney. They are the glue that holds us together. They are professional, knowledgeable, focused, fair, and supportive. As committee members come and go, and council changes with most elections, our staff provides continuity and institutional memory during times of transition. Thank you for being there for whoever needs you. Tonight, I issue a friendly challenge to those being sworn in and to those continuing to serve out their terms. For the last 25 years, each succeeding council has respected the work of previous councils. They have built upon the previous council's accomplishments, not dismantled them. They have moved forward, not backwards. I hope the newly seated council will do the same. Strive every day to be fully engaged and well-informed so you can make the right decisions for the right reasons. As a member of town council, I always encouraged residents to get involved and to speak up. I tried to support and respect the recommendations of our citizen boards and committees. Now I will need to be the resident who steps up and speaks up. While the volume on my civic voice has been lowered, I have not been silenced. I will continue to advocate for public trails and open space, sidewalks, safe and reliable water, preservation and conservation, recreational opportunities, local authority, and investing in our future. As my term ends, I leave this dais with my head held high, with a sense of accomplishment, and with my integrity intact, and with a whole lot more friends. I am honored to have spent the last 4 years as a member of the Oak Ridge team.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Kinnaman, comments?
I agree. Martha and George and Spencer have done a wonderful job at their time up here on council. George, I think you've been 12 years?
Yeah, tonight.
Yeah, 12 years. One of his main focus has been historic. He took the lead on that early on. The reason we have the MST trail going through town is in large part because of his work, so I commend him for that. Martha took the MST and ran with it. We have several miles of trails in town in large part because of her efforts. And the same thing with the Youth Association. We have a much more solid relationship with the Youth Association because of the work that Martha did. It is definitely a major accomplishment, very, very much in large part because of Martha's efforts. Spencer, he did a great job when he was here on purpose, and he's done a great job in filling in when we needed him the most. With the untimely death of Doug, who was sorely missed, he stepped up and said, "My town has called for me," and he answered the call. And it means a lot that you came back and helped us out, and I wish you well. And I wish the 3 new members well, and we'll have much more time to talk about that later. I'll keep my comments short and let.
Thank you. Councilman McClellan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Wow, after a pretty divisive campaign, I had the opportunity to look over the last 12 years that I have served on our town council. During that time, we have accomplished a lot, and I'm proud of the record that I have established. During my first term, I was the council representative on our Transportation and Pedestrian Committee. As a result of the plan that was developed by that committee, we have sidewalks in our business core that are connected. I can remember when I was approached by members of our county commission and was asked to bring the MST through our town. If you remember, another town had decided not to bring the MST through their town. During that meeting that I had with I told them I thought we had the votes to bring the MST through our town, and as a result, that's how the MST came to be in Oak Ridge. A while later, Councilwoman Martha Pittman and I were taking a hike. I believe that's one you were referencing. Excuse me, I got to find my place. Hike on a portion of the MST in Oak Ridge that was entirely on the road, if you remember. It was during that hike that we talked about establishing the MST committee, whose task would be to get as much of the trail off-road as possible. I'm proud of the part that I played in the establishment of that committee, and they've done a heck of a job. In 2019, I nominated and voted for Ann Snyder to be our first woman mayor. That resulted in a great partnership as we worked to get state grants for our Veterans Honor Green and over $4 million for a water system that will connect and bring water from Winston-Salem. I'm also proud of the relationships that I've built over the last 12 years with our legislators in Raleigh and with our county commissioners. The result has been that our town has been awarded, over that period, $9,589,000 in grants that have aided us in the construction of sidewalks and our business core so that every public building and our park are linked to our business district. And today, we are on the verge of seeing a water system becoming a reality. These grants have played a major role in our town being able to reach its goals without increasing the property tax rate. Regarding my votes over the last 12 months, I'm proud of my vote to approve the construction of the Heritage Farm Park that will have an ADA-approved playground for all of our children. I'm glad that I voted to approve the contract for the Farmhouse Community Center that, when finished, will provide a community center for our citizens. I'm proud of my vote for the engineering study of our water system. That will include a water tower that will provide our fire department with a dependable source of water. And I'm equally proud of my vote for the current budget that was recommended by our citizen-led Finance Committee that kept the property tax rate the same while doing these great projects. Regarding the increase in council's income, these increases were recommended by our citizen-led Finance Committee over the last 3 years without increasing the property tax rate. I want to thank Councilman Spencer Sullivan for stepping up to serve our town following the death of Doug Nodon. I also want to thank Councilwoman Martha Pittman for her outstanding service during her term on our town council. Today, I leave you a town that is better off than it was 12 years ago and is known in the halls of our legislature and county government as a town that gets things done. I hope that the new council will have the courage to continue these projects to their completion. It has been an honor to serve you, and may God continue to bless the Old North State and Oak Ridge, North Carolina.
Thank you. Beautiful words from everyone, very thoughtful. I want to thank you all. Since this is Spencer's second retirement, council, I'll just say how grateful I am that he stepped forward in difficult circumstances. As a former mayor and a retiring councilman now, he has been integral to so many good things in our town, including the decision to purchase the land on which we're building our new Heritage Farm Park, and the many years of planning involved in bringing municipal water and water for fire protection to our town, a step that will be critical to our town's future. Thank you, Spencer. I'm deeply grateful. George, I've known you since early in my tenure here. I think I joined the Historic Preservation Commission within a year of moving here, and I met you pretty quickly because you have a special knack for introducing yourself to everyone and being everywhere, interacting with residents and getting to know people on a daily basis. George has made himself an ambassador for Oak Ridge, a role that I'm sure he'll continue even out of office. Not many people are willing to give so much to their community over so many years. I'm especially grateful for his unwavering support for recreational improvements in our parks, for municipal water, and fiscal responsibility. George also introduced me to leaders in Raleigh, with whom Oak Ridge has continued to build relationships, as evidenced by the substantial awards that George mentioned. I'm grateful to you for your service. Martha, you're engaged, and always positive approach to town service have made you an incredibly effective leader for our town. I'm especially grateful for your leadership in the areas of trails and sidewalk development. I know that comes easily to you, but it takes a lot of thought, a lot of effort, and a lot of building of relationships. Martha has always also attended our town-supported senior events, which I've always given her a lot of credit for because I don't make it to a lot of those events, but I know people have appreciated her presence so much. I'm also grateful for the time she's taken to respond to residents. If you've ever emailed Martha, you know that she responds thoughtfully. You know that if you want to talk to her, she's always available to you. She pours her heart and soul into everything she does, and Oak Ridge has been the fortunate recipient of her efforts over the past 4 years and even before. Her strong voice and her listening ear make her the best kind of colleague to have. I'm grateful to each of these colleagues who have always been committed to what's best for Oak Ridge. I'm grateful as a resident and a town leader to them. Please join me in thanking them for their service. As each of them exits the dais, I'd like to present them with plaques of appreciation. Councilman McClellan, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councilwoman Pittman, thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. Councilman and former Mayor Spencer Sullivan, thank you. We're going to have a hug?
Yeah, we're going to do a hug.
Okay.
I guess we're getting kicked out of here now.
Yeah, well, yeah. Ask Sandra that question.
Yes, you can take your nameplate. Then take your nameplate.
I know, but I'm trying to get it. Okay.
Everything in life is a transition, isn't it? And now I will make a transition to hand the meeting over to our Assistant Town Manager, Sandra Smith, to perform the oath of office for our newly elected council members and then the election of mayor and mayor pro tem. Ms. Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to introduce the Honorable Judge Mark Tyree, who is here, and he is going to offer the oath of office to our new council members, Mike Stone, Michael Greason, and Jim Harton. Thank you.
We got to get that.
All right. So it is my honor to administer your oath of office. I truly enjoy these opportunities because it is quite literally the only time in my job where everybody in front of me leaves with a smile. So if you are ready to take your oath of office, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly and sincerely swear that you will support the Constitution and laws of the United States, that you will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, that you will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution and laws of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of your knowledge and ability, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of your office as town council member for the town of Oak Ridge, so help you God. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, Judge. And now,
Thank you, Judge.
as the new council will come up and find a seat.
Yeah, wherever you like to sit. Doesn't matter. Thank you. Thank you.
Now to the next item of business, I would like to take nominations for the position of mayor. Do I hear any nominations?
I make a motion to nominate Jim Kinnaman as mayor of Oak Ridge.
Thank you. Do I hear any other nominations?
Yes, I would like to nominate myself, Jim Harton, for mayor.
Do I hear any other nominations? Okay. We will take the first nomination first. So those in favor of Jim Kinnaman, please raise your hand. Okay, that makes, that vote is a majority have voted for that. So I would like to welcome Mr. Kinnaman as our new mayor. And now I'll take nominations for the office of Mayor Pro Tem.
I would like to nominate Mike Stone for Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you.
I would like to nominate Councilman Jim Harton for Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, are there any other nominations? Okay, in that case, we will take the first one first. Mike Stone, those in favor of Mike Stone for Mayor Pro Tem, please raise your hand. And the vote is 3-2. And so I'll welcome Mike Stone as our new Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you.
I'm not sure if anybody wants to play musical chairs, or you just want to, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, council.
We don't get one of those.
All right, we'll now move on to item 12, Town Manager Report. I believe we have an amendment we'd like to might want to make. Is there an
Yes.
amendment someone would like to make?
Yep. Mr. Mayor, I would ask, as we have a consensus on the new council, I would ask that we add the appointment of Spencer Sullivan to the Water Advisory Board, to the committee appointments and discussion vote.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Would you please add that to your agenda? And Bill Bruce, your floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Kinnaman, and welcome new council members. Pleasure to present the town manager's report this evening. We'll take the request of appointment of Caroline Ruck as an alternate to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board first.
Okay. Is there a motion to appoint Carolyn Ruck as an alternate to the Parks and Recs Advisory Committee?
So moved.
Second. Is there a second? Second's been made. Motion's made. Second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Oh. Yes, 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 okay. Did you get the motions? Okay.
Secondly, consideration of Spencer Sullivan on the Water Advisory Committee as an appointment.
Okay, is there a motion to approve his appointment?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Anything else?
One other item of business for council this evening is a request for a budget amendment to approve a proposal from Audio and Light Incorporated to upgrade the audio capabilities in our town hall conference room. You do have the proposal from Audio and Light in your packets, as well as a brief memo from me. As you know, our conference room is used for a variety of purposes, and one of those is to host hybrid in-person and remote meetings, committee meetings primarily, which have been hindered for the last several years by very poor audio quality. We've looked at lots of different options with the technology we have, recalibrating the microphone that's mounted to the monitor. The logistics of the room make it difficult with the equipment that we have to really make it effective to be able to hear when you're participating remotely. The proposal we have is for a new microphone system from Audio and Light. The proposal is a total of $9,668. It consists of hardware, a new processor, the microphones, and some software as well. Audio and Light has been a real trusted partner of ours. They redid the audio capabilities in the council chambers, and we feel real good about working with them and with the proposal that they've crafted for us.
Does council have any questions they'd like to ask before we ask for a motion? There is a warranty at all?
Yes.
Okay, about a year?
I believe that's correct, yes.
Okay. Any other questions you might have before I ask for a motion? I'd like to hear a motion for or against approving the budget amendment as proposed.
I move that we approve the budget amendment for the conference room sound system as proposed.
Is there a second?
Second.
The motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? I'm very much in favor of this. This will make life a lot easier for a lot of our meetings and make it much more effective, because I know several meetings people that remotely attend have had difficulties hearing, so I think it's great. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Anything else?
That's all, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're now going to have our first public comment section. We ask you to come up to the microphone, state your name and address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Anyone like to come up and speak?
Hey, good evening, Council. My name's Ben Ruck. I live at 1976 Beeson Road, and just wanted to take a few minutes tonight, if I could, to thank Ann for her years of service, recognize her not only for all she's done for the community, but also talk about a few of her major accomplishments that she was involved with during her tenure. So first, she was involved in the first strategic plan for the community, which is outstanding, and consequently also helped lead the town's first 20th year anniversary celebration. That consequently led to a couple of additional things, the founding of first a special events committee. And that then, with that organization, led to many different events here that have been in the park. Many of us take part in patriotic holidays like the Memorial Day celebration, the Veterans Day celebration, 4th of July, and then of course we all just enjoyed the Light Up the Night event, which the kids really enjoy, and it's excellent for families. So working with special events, Ann played key roles in moving forward with the planning of the Veterans Honor Green, which is going to be an excellent piece to our community. And I know it was already mentioned earlier about the grant and the funding to the town. I think was mentioned over $9 million. Most people don't know that Ann actually has a background in her past life in grant writing, and so that went a long way to help solidify that money for the town. So those improvements that were made, just outstanding for all of us, and we didn't have to pay taxes for those town improvements. So Ann, thank you for that. That was, to me, one of maybe one of the most important accomplishments. So she's always supported efforts for the Oak Ridge historic properties here in the area, promoted the protection of open spaces. She's also helped drive new projects for the livability of our community. So a lot of us enjoy, the walking trails. Also, there was the development of the new town website, which is outstanding, much better than it was. And last, I just say Ann's always served passionately, always had a smile on her face, great attitude. And last thing I want to say is, and you're going to kill me for saying this.
I am.
Ann is going to go down in history as the greatest dancer in the history of all mayors. And I know Spencer probably wants to have a dance-off to prove different, but I've seen her moves, and I just wanted to end on a humorous note. Ann, just been a pleasure seeing you serve. Looking forward to great things that you're going to continue to do with the town council. And thank you for all you've done for our community. We really appreciate you.
Anyone else like to speak?
Hi, I'll be very brief. I'm sure no one's in the mood with a long agenda to hear from a bloviating politician. My name's John Blust. I had the honor of getting to serve in the North Carolina House for 9 terms. 7 of those I represented this town, Oak Ridge. I've been here many times. 1 term in the Senate before that. I am reintroducing myself because I'm running again next year in 2024 for District 62, and I'll come back at a later date and perhaps say more, because I'm sure you want to keep the meeting going tonight. Good to see everybody. Congratulations for the new council. I'm sure you'll do a great job. It's an honor to be here, honor to serve. Thank you.
Anyone else like to see Patty back in the back there?
Patty Domchowski, 7320 Hidden View Drive. I'd just like to take a minute to thank George and Martha for serving on our town council. George has served several terms and has always been very vocal about his support for projects that have served our town. He's always brought topics to the table that concern town residents. He's always kept our best interests by keeping in contact with the state and county officials. George has successfully helped in securing grants, as was previously mentioned, for our parks and infrastructure here at Oak Ridge. And I'm sure all of us can testify that George has attended every social event here in Oak Ridge and greeted us with a hi, how y'all doing? Thank you for your service, George, and I think you have a budding career as a photographer and reporter for our town. I first met Martha when she was running for town council and attended one of our special events committee meetings. She introduced herself and made it known that she was available for any questions, concerns, comments, or anything that we would like to talk about. I thought, well, this is a person that really has our town's best interest at heart. From then on, I met Martha at just about every social function here in town and was pleased when she was elected to town council. I watched as she became involved with the MST, Finance Committee, Conservation Easement Committee, Tree and Parks and Rec advisory boards. She was instrumental, as was mentioned before with Jim, in the ORYA youth discussions. She's always had the best interests of our town's youth, as is evident with her involvement in a lot of the projects at Northwest High School. I watched her at every council meeting when she provided a professional, clear, and knowledgeable thought process on all her decisions. Her amazing financial knowledge cut through many of the numbers and brought it down to a level where everyone could understand. Her questions were always thought-provoking and rational. I thank Martha for her service, and Oak Ridge was a much better place by having her serve on our town council, and I look forward to her continued support. I'd like to thank Spencer Sullivan, and Spencer was the very first person when I brought to the council about the Veterans Committee. And I said to Spencer, what do you think? And he said, go get it. So I thank Spencer on doing that and all the work he's done on the water project. Special thanks to Ann. I was mentioned before. Ann started the Special Events Committee when we started our 20th anniversary. She has provided me with guidance and her expertise, and actually has always been a good friend to me. So I thank you, Ann, for your kindness. So thank you.
Any? Anyone else like to speak? Yes, please. Our hand went up faster than yours.
Good evening. Rita Lewandowski, 5006 Golden Acres Road in Oak Ridge. I just want to say on behalf of myself and a lot of other residents in Oak Ridge, we're very happy to see the change, the major change up here in Town Council, and we look forward to seeing a lot more change to come. A lot of promises were made and a lot of things were spoken and talked about, and we're looking forward to things happening and just going in a different direction in Oak Ridge, and a lot less patting on the back. Thank you.
Yes, you want to speak?
Ben Walraven, 5931 Pepper Road. Couple of things. Start off with something I read in the Northwest Observer that relates to the Veterans Honor Green. Because of the budget, or because of the quotes that came in, you've broken up the project into two bids, one for the area of the monument itself, and then another part for going back into the pine trees, what I call the reflective area. My family has contributed to the Honor Green, and they've done it as the project was proposed. And I hope that as you move forward and you approve the monument part, that you don't let the part that I consider reflective slip off your to-do projects. I know it's somewhat expensive, but if you've been there in the middle of the summer and out into that field, it's extremely hot. You walk back into the pine trees and you can actually sit down and be reflective, and I think we owe that to our veterans. And the next thing I'd like to do is I'd like to congratulate George and Martha and Spencer and Ann on leading us over the last several years to what I think is a very sweet and wonderful town. I'm part of the Light Up the Night implementation group, stepping away from it next year, but I remember when it was a day-long project where you filled sand in bags and put candles in it, and you hoped it didn't rain that night. Now we have a month-long display of pride and really a wonderful, wonderful display for the town and a representation of what our town is, a luminary for other towns to sort of emulate. So thank you, George. Thank you, Martha. Thank you, Ann. And thank you, Spencer.
Anyone else like to speak? If not, we'll close that session and we'll move on to new business. First item is consideration and approval of Resolution 2023-11 for award of the Veterans Honor Green contract. Will you be presenting, Bill, or?
Yes. In your packets, the resolution you mentioned. Also, we have a bid tabulation for the second set of bids that we advertised for the Veterans Honor Green project. As you'll recall, Town Council instructed staff to rebid the project after the first round. The lowest bid was over budget, and our discussions with the contractor to find value engineering didn't get it quite low enough to within budget that council felt comfortable in awarding the contract. We rebid the project as a base bid that consisted, as Mr. Walraven mentioned, of the monument area and then an alternate add-on for the boardwalk section. We received 5 bids. They're tabulated in your packets. The low bid is from ASJ Wilson Construction, a base bid of $255,000 and an alternate bid of $63,000. The resolution in your packet is worded such that, and I also mentioned that the contract for the work is also included in your packets, and I would request council's decision on the resolution.
If we approve the bid, will we need a budget amendment or anything like that to go along with this, or the resolution will take care of that? Because I think we need to contribute an additional $11,000 if we accept this bid.
I believe we have roughly $245,000, $6,000 currently. It continues to grow.
All right, so we might need to contribute a little bit, but do we need a budget amendment, or can we circle back for that when we figure out exactly what we need?
I think just acknowledging that, and Sam can correct me, just acknowledging that you're approving the contract at $255,000. Sam will make the adjustment in the fund to ensure that the remaining is coming from the appropriate fund.
Okay.
Contract to be lit for that budget line item. It is, if you adjust to do it higher, it is basically a de facto budget adjustment.
Does council have any other clarifying questions they might like to ask before we ask for a motion? If not, is there a motion to approve or deny the bid, and you need to include whether or not we want to include the alternate bid as part of the resolution?
I move that we approve Resolution R 2023-11 for the award of the Veterans Honor Green contract to the low bidder, ASJ Wilson, for the base bid amount.
Okay, if this motion's made, is there a second?
Second.
It's been made, motion's made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Anybody would like to make some comments?
I want to thank our landscape architect, Revington Reeves, who also managed the bid process for this project, for advising us to rebid this project. That was a great decision, and they used it to spend time to reach out to other landscape contractors, resulting in a higher number of bids. The low bid looks good to me. Although I've also love the boardwalk, and I do think it's an important part of the project as conceived by Special Events for two purposes that Mr. Walraven mentioned, for shade and an area for reflection. I look forward to assessing, with the help of Special Events and this body, whether we can consider a Phase 2 portion of this project that would include the boardwalk at a future date, or whether an alternate solution, maybe with the help of whoever implements this solution, or ASJ Wilson, or Revington Reeves, for possibly a walkway through the pine trees with benches and something demarcating the walkway. I think it's important, because of all the businesses and individuals who gave so generously, that we realize that second part of the project. I'm grateful to the $50,000 grant sponsored by Representative John Faircloth, together with the $68,000 from the town that served as matching funds for all of the money raised. I think that was a real incentive for people to donate to this. Thanks also to the veterans who gave us guidance throughout the development of the design and afterwards. This is truly a community-sponsored project, consistent with how other veteran sites, such as the Field of Honor at Triad Park, were developed. Thank you.
Anyone else have any comments? I am definitely in favor of a reflective area. One of the things the tree committee tree board has looked at is that the life of the pines are probably at the end of their lifespan, so they're thinking that they're going to need to rethink what's going to go in there. So we would definitely have an opportunity, I believe, to do something in that area, possibly as part of renovating and rejuvenating that as a forested area. So I definitely think that would be a great idea to continue looking into. It may come in a different form than what was original, but I think a reflective area would be very, very much desired. If there's no further comments, the motion's been on the table. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Then we have consideration approval of the county contract for grant award. Is that something you can brief us on also?
Yes. The second item under new business is a request for approval of an interlocal agreement with Guilford County. This is a request the town made during the county's annual budget process to appropriate $140,000 to the town to supply security cameras at the town park and/or Heritage Farm Park, and for the construction of an accessible playground at Heritage Farm Park. The town has the discretion to allocate these dollars to either of those projects as it deems fit. The town is researching security camera options that will be presented to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board for their consideration as a recommendation to council. And of course, council did commit to $70,000 toward the construction of the playground in a previous meeting. So the contract for playground construction, incorporating $70,000 from this grant, has already been awarded. It's my request to approve the attached interlocal agreement to disperse these funds.
Okay, anyone have any questions they might like to ask before I ask for a motion? If not, is there a motion to approve or deny the resolution, the appropriation, the interlocal agreement?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the Guilford County contract for grant awards.
Is there a second? Is there a second? Second. Jim Harton made the second. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. The next item is the review of the Farmhouse Community Center. A couple of members of council would like an opportunity to review the project and see if there's some options that they may consider. I will turn it over to members of council to raise the subject and for discussion. Whoever would like to start.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we direct the town manager to schedule a meeting with Bar Construction, relevant resources and staff, town council, Mayor Jim Kinnaman, and Councilman Mike Greason to explore the possibility and options of alternatives to significantly reduce the cost of the Farmhouse Community Center project. Further, I move that we direct the town manager to arrange to facilitate this meeting as quickly as possible.
There's a motion on the table. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay. In accordance with our policy, the person that makes the motion is asked for their comments first. So Mayor Pro Tem Stone.
So we've heard loud and clear through an election that there are concerns about the Farmhouse Community Center. The size of the house versus the size of the monies being spent on it are out of balance. There has to be ways to reduce the amount of money, the taxpayers' money, that we're spending on this project. $630,000 plus is too much. So we need to figure out a way to reduce the amount of money being spent on that house.
Try to go in an order here. Councilman Greason, do you have any comments you'd like to add?
I agree with 100%.
Councilman Harton, would you like to speak?
I didn't understand the group that would be meeting with Bar Construction. I heard town council, and then I heard specific comments about Mr. Greason. Is that it, or could others join this meeting?
We can only have 2 members of council at that meeting at a time, otherwise it constitutes a meeting.
So the people at the meeting would be Mr. Greason
And myself,
and yourself.
what the motion was made was me and my associate.
The reason I brought it up is I do have recent experience with similar projects. Our home on Pepper Road is certainly a home that was built in 1880, and then we've added to it recently. So projects similar, plus I have had access to as treasurer of Preservation Oak Ridge, I have access to the most of the information regarding not only the expenditures on the AI church building, which was a lot of volunteer work, but specifically the additional building of the kitchens and bathroom, which would be kind of a similar situation. So I feel like I have some knowledge that could be helpful.
I would not object to amending the motion if if Mr. Stone is amenable to that.
I like the motion as it is.
Okay. Madam Snyder.
I'm all in favor of asking questions and due diligence, but since we approved this project in March 2023 and signed a contract in June 2023 with Bar Construction, and since work has already begun on this project, the effort to review the project for significant cost savings troubles me. It seems well outside the regular order of business that this town would typically have following a signed contract. We've already worked with Bar Construction and Hill Studios, the architect, to identify over $10,000 in net savings via reductive change orders. So this proposal, I see and I hear that it's political, designed to slow down and change the project. Ostensibly, I get it. It's an effort to save money. But any change in the project would constitute a change order, which at this stage of the project would leave the town basically at the mercy, that's a little strong, but the contractor would hold the cards in this situation. So they've already mobilized, ordered materials and the like. It also could introduce potential legal liability because we have a signed contract if the scope were significantly changed. And if something that significant were proposed to this body, for example, changes to the design or scope of the project, it would likely require new architectural drawings, new construction drawings, documents, new bidding and negotiation services, and new permits. That would mean throwing out the window all of the money that we've already spent on those efforts, plus costs incurred by Bar Construction to date, plus change order costs. Potentially, I've read the contract, up to the full amount of the current contract. It seems logical at this point that, and I'd love to find out the details, but it's likely that those costs would outweigh any possible savings. More to the point, if you significantly change the project, it would probably also require a new contract and probably new bids per state statute. So aside from these issues, though, there's an even more important issue: making sure that the money we spend is worth spending at all. So to that point, I will continue to advocate for what a majority of residents who contacted town council, spoke at town council meetings, were in favor of, what our Parks and Rec Advisory Board unanimously recommended, and what the survey taken that has determined every feature in our new park, all without cost estimates, as well as the renovation of this historic farmhouse for a community purpose, all of those have said they want a project that not just preserves the farmhouse as something like that you might look into the windows or use the bathroom in, but as a service to the community as some sort of indoor rental space. The need for this kind of space in our park has received strong support from residents over many years. This would include space for ORYA events, indoor and outdoor farmers markets, bridal and baby showers, graduations, birthdays, family events, family reunions, small weddings, musical events, artistic presentations, gallery use, museum use, corporate events, political events, meetings and spaces for community groups, especially those who want to have food and an adjacent outdoor space, which the town hall does not offer. There are lots of student events also that use our conference room that aren't really well suited for our conference room and could benefit from a more functional space. So there are lots and lots of things that this house could serve. I've never talked much about the revenue from the farmhouse, because that's not the reason for a new park facility, just as revenue isn't the reason that we're adding picnic shelters that have to be rented, or two athletic fields that basically provide some revenue. The goal is to serve our residents for all these projects. But revenue helps with maintenance costs, and in the early analysis of how much this community center would be rented and how much the maintenance costs would be, it's clear that even if it's rented out only 20 to 25 hours a week, which I think is very conservative, at a possible rate of $20 an hour for residents and $30 an hour for non-residents, we would net easily more than $15,000. So, you know, we can take a more careful look at those numbers, certainly, but when cost cutting is the order of the day, as I see that it is this council not focused enough on cost savings that it would be willing to throw all of this out the window? And the real cost savings I see is that if we go forward with the project as planned at $620,000, we will also receive grants totaling $380,000 that reduces the cost to the town of $240,000. Now that's a real cost savings. Sure, it's all taxpayer money, but isn't it a good thing that some of our state tax money is invested here in Oak Ridge? And make no mistake, this money, putting it into a new facility in Oak Ridge, is good for all of us, since it supports livability and property values. That's why our home prices are soaring, because our town has historically invested the low taxes it collects right back into our community. So the $400 that you pay a year on your $500,000 house, I mean, it's less than a lot of people pay to their HOAs, but that's about the best investment you make. The bottom line is that we don't need a renovation without a community purpose. I want us to move forward with the Farmhouse Community Center as approved. Thank you.
Okay. In considering this motion, I've made it clear that I am very skeptical that there would be significant savings in going through this exercise. I've been very upfront about that. But it's an exercise that's not going to cost us anything. Yes, it will cost a little bit of staff time. And I agree, the contractor holds the, pretty much has the say about whether or not anything would be permissible. We have a contract. And as a town, we will honor that contract. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that unless we go to court, and which we're not going to go there. I won't go to court. That contract is a contract, and we will honor that contract. So any cost savings we can get would be as a negotiation between us and the contractor. And I've made it clear that unless it's significant and there's still something there that is usable in some form for the amount of money we're going to spend, I will not be in favor of the changes. But I believe it's an exercise that will not cost us anything. We can go through that exercise, see if there's meaningful savings while still maintaining a value for the amount of money we're going to get. But by no stretch of the imagination would I be asking for us to renege on that contract. That contract is a legal binding document, and the only way we're going to get any changes is in negotiation with the contractor. If we can make significant savings, that's one thing to consider. And any changes will have to come before council. So that's where I stand on this. But I believe I have no problem with going through with the exercise. If something meaningful comes out of it, I will give it serious consideration. Okay? Are there any other comments?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
So just a couple of follow-ups. What year was that survey done? Does anybody recall?
2019.
No, the original survey about the community center. There was a, does anybody recall? Okay, doesn't really matter. Here's the thing. It's my opinion, and it is that that if the space was presented back when the survey was done, stating that it would be 1,100 square feet and would cost $630,000, and as proposed by square footage, it'll be the most expensive house in Oak Ridge, the survey would have been markedly different. People don't spend their money that way. I've said this as a citizen, I said it as a candidate, and I'm going to say it as a town council member. The only people that will spend that much money on this project are either crazy or they're spending somebody else's money.
Just a brief comment. I appreciate your point of view, and thank you for bringing that up. No dollars were attached to any of the projects, and maybe it was 2018, but it's back then, the early estimate for our park was $1.8 million. Then when we got a more detailed and complete estimate, it was $3.5 million. And then at the end, it's closing in on $7 million. So I think if that price tag had been attached, people might have feel differently about the park. But we have gone through a period of incredible inflation, and I don't think I could have imagined that our park could cost so much. Nor could we have imagined that this project would cost as much. But I was challenged early on to find grants for this project, and we've been successful in doing that, and that is a real gift to this town. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments?
On the comment on inflation, inflation hits the citizens long before it hits the town.
Any further comments, questions, clarifications? With that, the motion's been on the table. It's been properly seconded. Discussion's been followed. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
So it's 3-2. Mr. Bruce, would you arrange the meeting? Thank you. And the results of that meeting will be reported back to us. Any action on that would have to take a vote of council to approve. So, again, okay? All right, the next item is review of the mayor's salary. Since that affects me directly, I'll be making a motion to, make a budget amendment to lower the mayor's salary from its current level of $700 to the same level as other members of council, which is $400. That would remain in effect until the next budget, which at the next budget is when the salary could be adjusted, just as it could be other salary members. So I make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. As policy, the person making the motion leads off the discussion, so let me go through a little bit of my notes here. As mayor, there's very few things that I can do differently than other members of council. I can declare a state of emergency. We don't have them that often, but I can, when it's appropriate. I can call a special call meeting, but so can the mayor pro tem and any two members of council. I officiate at local town activities. I can appoint people to ad hoc committees, but I wouldn't do any of that without conferring with the rest of council anyway. But beyond that, I'm very much a member of council, and such I see no need for the mayor's salary to be different than other members of council. While we need to be competitive with employee salaries, there's no need for that when it comes to council salaries. Best practices are something I work with every day with my clients. It has to do with efficiencies and competitiveness. And they make sense for companies, and they make sense for the day-to-day running of the town. I doubt we will ever have or want a salary large enough that it would be the deciding factor for someone running for council. It should be large enough to compensate for local travel and a token of appreciation, but I don't see the need to go beyond that. We all contribute to governing the town of Oak Ridge and have a shared commitment to public service with the same opportunities to contribute. And with that, I'm asking that the salary of the mayor be reduced to the same level as other members of council. Follow the same order of comments. Mr. Greason, do you have any comments? Mr. Stone?
The mayor is one of 5 town council members, equal in every single way, with no special considerations. The town council should not imply by stipend that the mayor's job is any more or less important than any other council member that's elected by the citizens. As pointed out by the mayor, if all 5 town council members resigned today, the seats would not go cold. There would be people prepared to sit in these seats, and it's not because of the stipend. So it only makes sense for the town council as a whole to be equal in every way. I'll also add that state law doesn't allow us to adjust the town council stipend at this time. That has to be done during the budget cycle. We'll have that conversation at a later time. But I think this is the right thing to do, and I support it.
Mr. Harden?
Basically, you're proposing impairment to yourself, which I understand where you're coming from. I understand where Mr. Stone has stated. I don't have any objections to that. And personally, I'm going to take my stipend or salary, whatever it's called, and I intend to return it to the town for special projects. So I have no objection.
Councilmember Snyder?
Well, every job is what you make it. So I think if you choose to embrace the leadership role of the council, of the mayor, it's what you make it. As far as cost savings go, which during the election, that's what I heard, this measure will save the town $400 a month or $3,600 a year. Having served as mayor for the last 4 years, when my salary went from $400 a month to $700 a month, I feel like I'm supposed to feel embarrassed for accepting this, basically a token salary, for working 40 or more hours per week for the town during this entire period, and foregoing other paid work at much higher levels. Frankly, I've been grateful even for that relatively small amount of salary, because it's also appreciation. Sure, no one serves on council or as mayor for the money, but everyone deserves appreciation, and there are people, me included, for whom the extra income is very helpful. Most important, I want to note the importance of modeling best practices in town governance, something I think our town has excelled at over the past 6 years. Lowering the mayor's salary certainly doesn't reflect best practices. And since our salaries are reported via various statewide surveys, I'm just concerned that this will make Oak Ridge look unserious at best.
I don't see anyone moving to Oak Ridge or leaving Oak Ridge because of salaries the council manage. I disagree that someone's going to look at Oak Ridge and say they're somehow deficient because they don't pay their mayor more than they pay their members of council. But with that said, I think we've discussed this enough. I'd like to call the motion. Is there, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
So, Mr. Harton, did you, did you? 4. Okay, thank you. So it's 4-1. That will take effect immediately in January. Mr. Thomas? Yeah, I made a motion that we make a budget amendment to lower the 4-1, yes.
I'll use it as a moment to mention this, that any action being an ordinance or having the effect of an ordinance, except rezonings, because those have been accepted now, on the day of introduction, which is not defined by the statute, but presumably this is the first time this has been on an agenda, so it's a day of introduction, would require a supermajority. You have one, so that passed.
Okay.
I just remind everybody that that's sometimes applicable. Thank you.
Do you have what you need, Sam? Thank you. We're ready for you again, though. Monthly financial update. Thank you.
Good evening, Council. Everyone either received via email from myself or email from Ashley the monthly financial report from the finance officer and the monthly financial statements. On the balance sheet, we're holding a strong cash position of $5.7 million. This is including all of the loan proceeds that are held in the HFP savings account of a hair under $2.2 million, and the checking account balance at the end of the month, which is $55,000. Liabilities, $68,000. Fund balance, $5.66 million. And again, there's a little bit under $4 million of the fund balance committed to the capital projects, which includes both the budgeted amount coming from the town and the residuary on the loan. Behind this, there is the revenues and expenses, broken down percentages on budget. Schedule 1 is the balances between our depository banks, which are Truist, Bank of Oak Ridge, Piedmont Federal. Then supplementary Schedule 2 is detail of all income and all expense items divided by fund code. And then Schedule 3 is a list of assets. Schedule 4 is the debt schedule, which shows the balances due on the loan extended out. And then Schedule 5 is the detailed schedule on the Water Enterprise Fund. Overall, very strong position as we always maintain, because as the auditor stated, our percentages and our evaluations and benchmarks with municipalities is very good. We have an ACH wire transfer remitting property taxes of $28,045.91 and motor vehicle taxes of $98,9649 from Guilford County. Total will be received $37,942.40. These will be the collections through November the 30th that are in the account now. Monthly, we receive sales tax and property tax, as we always do. Interest for November, planning and zoning fees, other park revenues, special events park receipts, some solid waste disposal tax, and donations to the Veterans Honor Green. The investments in our depository banks are still being monitored and looking for yield. As was reported in the audit, we just about, it was over doubled what the earnings were from the prior year. So we're still watching that and looking at rates that we can get in accordance with the investment policies of the town. For the month, we supported the staff with grant compliance, and we're supporting the ARPA grants, the SCIF grants, the CIP process, and work on the potential water system. The audit, as he stated tonight, the audit is complete. Very happy. Again, another clean opinion. Expanded to 60 pages. When we first started, our audit was, I want to say, somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 12 pages. Of course, we also used to do the budget by the 5 council members, the clerk, who was the only staff member, and yours truly, sitting down in folding metal chairs at a fold-out table in the old fire station. And with the smell of barbecue sauce wafting out of the woodwork, we, because Town Hall was a add-on at the back of a bay and a closet in what had been the chief's office, which would hold maybe 2 of these desks if everything was open. So we've come a long way. Our financial statements are, we've got a lot of things moving. It's going to be a learning experience with a lot of folks because we're operating the Water Enterprise Fund. We've got a capital projects fund. Other things may require a capital projects fund. But I'm very pleased. As always, it was good working with Forvis. The thing I like about working with them when we first were looking at this year, depending on when this project started, that single audit. And we'll have it next year. We've already hit the 500,000 amply and the 750,000 benchmark. So we'll have a single audit this coming year. And all of that's required under ARPA, and we're in full compliance on all that. But it is exciting. It's been said that accountants aren't dull people. We just get excited about dull stuff. But it is nice to see this moving forward. As the town is growing, the town has grown. We're not using the metal chairs, and we're not smelling barbecue sauce when we do the budget. We've got a wonderful committee of well-experienced people that help draft everything, and everything's worked out well. So with that said, the next step, now that the audit is completed, I have to do the annual AFIR report, which is one of those wonderful government reports where we take and slice and dice the audit and recalculate it and put it in through a website that's managed by the Census Bureau. So it gets to be a little interesting sometimes, but we're doing that. Copies of this will be going out to our depository banks and with Truist as the lender. But I am happy to report in working with Truist after the first time doing the loan draw last month. It was about a 3-day process. This time, I believe, Bill, it was less than 24 hours from start to finish. Bill sent aerials, I sent the paperwork, Terry met the banker, and within 24 hours, I had an email, the money was transferred. And it was verified overnight, and by the 24 hours, we had the money in the bank to pay the bills. So everybody's working really good with us. Our bankers, everything has gone well. So look forward to it. But that's everything I've got for tonight.
Okay. Is there a motion to accept the finance officer's report?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. And as always, the audit is not a surprise. Thank you. Okay. Committee reports. Tree Committee, I don't believe met. Is that correct? Parks and Rec Advisory Board.
I'm John Garrett. I live at 8604 Broomfield Road here in Oak Ridge. I'm co-chair of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. I'd like to give you an activity report for November. We met on the 16th of November in person and by Zoom platform. During that meeting, we completed about 5 months of study on the Oak Ridge Youth Association user agreement for 2024 and submitted it to town council members for consideration and approval. So you should have that in your package for this month. We also continued working on our planning on the 2024 Music in the Park. I'd like to tell you that there's 3 of the 6 events have bands already booked for that. So we should be ready for that when the time next month comes. We still have several bands to commit, to have a full schedule. I'd also like to thank you for approving Carolyn Rush. I know I've worked with her from time to time over the last few years on a couple of committees, and I find her being very easy to work with, informative, fair, and I look forward. I know everybody's going to enjoy working with her.
We'll be taking care of the youth associate agreement next month. Just with the new councils, we felt it's give them a little more time to digest it.
I understand.
Thank you, though.
Any questions?
Thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Finance Committee hasn't met, but I guess we usually convene that for February, is it? March? Okay. So we want to start thinking about the Finance Committee there. Should we also, I don't want to break, I'll talk about it later. Sorry. Water Advisory Committee?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Brian Hall, nice to see you. You guys stole our chairman, so you get the B team. It's the best I can do. The Water Advisory Committee met November 15th. We discussed the following. We reviewed the 30% plans of the proposed water main connecting Winston-Salem, Forsyth City County Utilities to the proposed elevated tank behind Town Hall. The committee made a number of recommendations, which have been forwarded to Wooten, the design engineer, along with comments from EnviroLinks engineer, who was also in attendance. It was suggested that the committee try to get a projected cost for the land near the Forsyth County line that could serve to house a future pumping station for the line to increase pressure on that future line. We reviewed the interlocal agreement with Winston-Salem and Forsyth County. That's the third iteration of that interlocal agreement. It was received Tuesday, November 14th. It was briefly reviewed at the meeting. Since it was a complicated document, it's likely that the Water Advisory Committee will take this up as a final draft at its December meeting as we continue our review. No new houses have been added to the water system in Honeycutt Reserve. The committee reviewed the income statement and the balance sheet of the Water Enterprise Fund. For customer recruitment, revenue expense forecasting, and system maintenance costs, we began initial discussions on how to identify potential future customers, understand maintenance costs, and forecast revenues versus expenses. Happy to answer any questions.
How many more iterations do you think the interlocal agreement will have to go through?
15, maybe? I don't know. Hopefully not too many.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Reservation?
I'm Courtney Harton, 5901 Pepper Road. We did not have a meeting. It was canceled on November 15th. There were no applications, but there was a design review meeting that Denise Sachs and Debbie Schoenfeld attended, reviewing a meeting for residents on Williard Road. That's all.
Thank you so much. Mountain to the Sea?
Good evening. New members of council, I don't believe we've officially met. I'm Ann Steele, the chair of the Mountains to Sea Committee, 8927 Grove Park Drive. Our last meeting was held on Thursday, November 28th via Zoom. We discussed the success of the trail workday that was held on November 18th. With the help of our amazing volunteers, we performed routine maintenance on the Headwaters Trail. This included scraping new growth, blowing leaves, and working to divert standing water to allow for better drainage. At our meeting, we also continued to discuss our next steps at the Carriage Cove property. This includes refining and maintaining the trails that we have worked to rough cut. We have had a very productive 2023 in Oak Ridge, and our committee would like to thank the entire council for your support and encouragement over the past year. We look forward to continued progress in getting even more of the MST off the road in 2024. Thank you. Any questions?
No. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann.
Appreciate your work. A Conservation Easement Committee? Okay. Special Events Committee? We've decided she can have an extra minute if she needs it.
Thank you, and welcome new council. Patty Domchowski, 7320 Hidden View Drive. We had another successful Veterans Day ceremony at Town Hall. Guest speaker was Reverend Roy Carter from the Christian Baptist Church. Wonderful ceremony, full house, and as always, the Scouts did a great job. Our Light Up the Night this past weekend was a wonderful success. After making the difficult decision to cancel Saturday due to the rainy forecast, we moved the event to Sunday. Sunday proved to be much better, sunny and warm. Local Scouts again supported us by volunteering to help out wherever needed. We had a great crowd, and the kids loved the Grinch hay rides. Special thanks to Randy Collins and Linda for the wagon, side rails, and hay bales. This year, we added a Santa writing station and mailbox to send the letters off to the North Pole. This was created and sponsored by Tiffany Hansen from Bob's Rents. Santa arrived on the Oak Ridge Vintage Fire Truck driven by Sam Anders. Thank you, Sam. Santa greeted over 100 kids, parents, pets. It was a great time. This year, we had a new photo backdrop and illumination from within the tent over which worked great. Tyler and Emma Millard provided community sing-along while the tree was lit. Summit Church again gave us great hot chocolate free and photo ops for families. Craft and food vendors were also on site and provided creative items and delicious food, respectively. Thanks to all the volunteers who came out to install the over 1,300 luminaries and the 25 stars to celebrate the town's 25th anniversary. This was led by Amy and Brent Kerhoff and Diane Macklin. The 25th anniversary sign was designed and created by Danny Yanik, Ben Walraven, and Ann Schneider. The lights will be up the entire month of December, and we hope folks will come out and take a stroll around the park. Also, thanks to Terry Landon and his staff that helped out wherever needed. The Light of the Night could not be possible without all the committee members of the Special Events Committee. This is a year-long project that takes a special group of people that work together and bring each of their unique talents to the table. I'm so proud of all of the work that they do for our town and offer my heartfelt thanks to all of them. Our next event will be the 25th Volunteer Anniversary Dinner on January 13th at the Oak Ridge Methodist Church. Invites will be going out shortly. As discussed tonight on our Veterans Honor Green, donations now stand at over $246,000. Vendors and food truck fees from Light Up the Night were donated to the Veterans Honor Green, as were the sales of the 25th ornaments and T-shirts. We also had an amazing donation of $909 from the Helping Heroes Club from the Northwest High School. This effort was led by one of the students, Michelangelo Scalaba, did I say it right? Shalaba, sorry, student at Northwest. So when you think about the youth and things that they're doing, this was amazing that this came together. Thanks to the past and the current town council members for all their support for this project. Thank you so much for approving the bid. And thank you, Bill, for coordinating all of this also. So close.
Thank you. Oak Ridge Military Academy, I believe Mayor Pro Tem Stone says he has an update from the academy.
Yeah, from Oak Ridge Military Academy. You may not know, the oldest military academy in the United States is West Point. Second oldest military academy in the United States is Annapolis. The third oldest military academy in the United States is Oak Ridge Military Academy. And it is the oldest college prep military academy in the United States. It was here before the town was here, right? An announcement. You may not be aware, but students, cadets that graduate from Oak Ridge Military Academy have guaranteed acceptance to the Citadel and to Georgia Military College. Guaranteed acceptance. Oak Ridge Military Academy has just signed a letter with the president of Virginia Military Institute that any cadet that graduates has guaranteed acceptance to VMI. It is a huge, huge thing for our town, for the Oak Ridge Military Academy, and for the students. So I applaud them for what they're doing. Thank you.
Do we have anything from the elementary school? Okay. I don't see anyone from the Youth Association or from we don't have it's not due for ABC Board report this month, okay. Okay, we now have our second period of public comment. If you would like to make a public comment, please come up, state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes to say whatever you'd like to say. Patty?
Patty Paslaroo, 8543 Linville Road, Oak Ridge, North Carolina. Jim, I'd like to thank you for your humility and for taking that reduction in salary. I don't think it makes us look foolish as a town. I think what makes us look more foolish is the $600,000 for 1,100 square feet. That's what, whether it's grants or not, those grants could have been used elsewhere for different monies. I am a contract administrator. That's what I do for a living, write million-dollar contracts all the time. So most contracts should have either a change or an out clause. So you should be able to do some kind of negotiation with that, with your vendors. If it's a good contract, that should be there in that. I'd also like to know the 1,100 square feet, it's going to be, for the fire marshal's probably going to give it around 50, 60 people to be in that space. Who's going to rent it out for $20 an hour? I mean, we don't even make any money on the park now to pay for all of the fields that we have. I know it's not about making money, it's about being for the town, but you talk about renting it out and we'll make some of the money back. I don't think that the money is going to even come close to paying for what we're spending there. And as a taxpayer, that concerns me. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak? Yes, sir.
Good evening. Hi, my name's John Colby. I'm at 6706 Bugle Run Drive. I didn't expect to actually speak tonight, but I did feel like for the tempo, I just want to kind of get a couple things out, let you guys know what a few of us are thinking. First, I want to thank the council, both past and present. Your efforts are appreciated. Whatever happens, we definitely appreciate that, so thank you. I think the Farmhouse Community Center really still feels like a solution or a problem in search of a solution. It doesn't feel like there's a true statement of what it will actually do for us. And when I look at that, I look at the cost of that, it just feels out of whack. I encourage you guys to look at a way to make that right. Other things I'd like to actually ask you to guys consider is to increase the pacing of the sidewalks on the east side of town. The 68 and 150 intersection was going to come through. It would be nice to see that the sidewalks really kind of pick up on the other side too. And then I also want to thank the Mountain Sea Trail people. Thank you very much. And I really support those kinds of efforts. I would ask you to look to convert some of the money that you're looking to spend at the farmhouse to those types of efforts. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? I see, yep, yes.
My name is Frank Carroll, 1389 Forsyth Road, Kernersville. I'm actually in a fairly unique position because I'm affected by decisions of this council because I'm in the ETJ. I have no vote. But I'm also in the position where I'm not paying Oak Ridge taxes. But if I look at the farmhouse deal, looking at that, roughly $630,000, 1,100 square foot, that comes out to $573 a foot. If you get that in terms of people that can understand, 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, $372 for this sheet of paper, you need 1,700 of them. That's a fair amount of money for 1,100 square feet. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Okay, we'll close that. It's now time for council comments. Councilmember Greason, you have the floor.
I'm looking forward to working with everybody, and thank you. That's it.
Mayor Pro Tem Stone?
Mike talks as much as Doug did. So. Let me start, I'm going to run down a really quick list here. Some people I need to thank. My wife, who left early because she doesn't like politics, but she tolerates me. She does support me, and I thank her so much. My mom, who's watching online, taught me everything about community service and being part of the community, and I think my dad did that as well. But Mom's watching online, so hey, Mom. My sister, who's also in Florida watching online, she made me tougher. She made me stand up for myself, and she's been my steadfast friend. So that's the family thing. To all of my supporters, congratulations. To quote Dale Earnhardt, we did it. Okay? You told me what needed to be done. I listened to you. I heard it, and I based everything about this election on what you told me. The towns heard you too. We're going to do great things together. I guarantee it. I thank you for the trust and the support and the friendship that you've given me through times when it wasn't fun. Folks, this is fun now, okay? I will not let you down. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilmember Harden?
First, thank everyone for being here tonight and supporting all of us. I want to thank all the people that voted for me. When I started, my personal estimate is that I knew about 50 people in Oak Ridge. I know considerably more than that, and appreciate all the votes that you guys gave to me. I also got votes that were not necessarily for me, but against other issues, so I'll have to wrestle with those as we move forward in what I consider to be the next 1,460-day adventure that we've entered into tonight. With that, I plan to continue myself to be fact-based and to look at issues and to be overly critical, but also be willing to listen and learn and adapt based on what I actually listen and learn to. So I encourage you to keep the dialogue coming, all of those that spoke tonight. I hope to hear more from you in the future. Thank you.
Councilmember Schneider?
Thank you. I love the Light Up the Night display. It just makes me happy every time I drive by. So thank you again to Special Events, staff, and everyone who helped with that project. Thanks to all the residents who spoke here today. And I'm sorry, I forgot to make a correction earlier. The farmhouse is not 1,100 square feet, it's 1,500 square feet. So adjust your calculations. I know some of you still might be happy with that, but it's a significant difference. It's important. I truly enjoy serving our town. I will continue to enjoy it. I appreciate working with all of you, especially our staff, our committees, and also our councils. It's important that we're able to work together, and I look forward to doing that even when we disagree. Once again, happy anniversary to our town. Don't forget to purchase your 25th anniversary holiday ornaments and T-shirts. And I want to say Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year to all who celebrate. Thank you.
Yeah, a couple of things. We should start thinking about CIP and strategic plan, I guess, for early next year.
The CIP workshop is actually, I think, on the meeting schedule that was approved last month, mid-February. But yes, we'll begin putting together a spreadsheet and sharing with council as soon as we can.
All right, excellent. As far as sidewalks go, one of the things we're waiting on for sidewalks on the east side of town is for the road project at the intersection of 68 and 150 to get completed, because we don't always know exactly where their sidewalks are going to end and ours will start. So we're planning on that very soon after that. In our CIP plan, we do have money allocated for sidewalks on the east side of town. So, as soon as we can start putting those sidewalks down, we will, okay? Yeah, the Light Up the Night is fabulous. I got there a little too late to actually be there when you threw the switch. I was working on Saturday's time schedule, and I did not notice the shift in time, so I apologize for not being there on time. I welcome Mike Stone, Michael Greason, and Jim Harton to council. From the recent election, I think the message that I took away from it is our residents are looking for more accountability, transparency, and communication. It doesn't matter if we felt we were doing a good job. The residents evidently thought differently, okay? So our form of government is council manager, which means that outside of this chamber, each one of us have very little power. We have power to influence, we have power to advise, but as far as decision-making going, it only happens during an open meeting. So that's why we're called a council manager. Council sets policy, our manager implements that policy, okay? I will work very hard to make sure that all members of council are equally informed about what's going on, so that they know what's going on, so they can make the same decisions using the same information that everyone else has. In the areas of accountability and transparency, I'm recommending but not making a motion at this moment that we make a policy that requires member of council to obtain prior council approval to attend conferences, classes, meetings, and the like the town will pay their expenses for. It's important that all members of council benefit from these types of activities, and that members of council that attend these types of activities report back to council what they learned and heard at those sessions. It's important that council has a say in what we're paying for, and I don't want to put the position, the burden on the manager to decide whether or not a particular event or council conference or something is appropriate for a member of council to attend. Remember, I'm still going to mention time to donate. We got Christmas coming up. We got the New Year coming up. It's Hanukkah season. So it's a time of new beginnings, a new birth. So donating blood is an excellent way that you can give the gift of life to up to 3 people. The United Methodist Church is having a blood drive this coming Monday. Martha, you know when the Summit might be having one soon? Okay, January. So between the Summit Church and the Methodist Church, there's typically a blood drive really near to when you might want to consider donating. They both do a great job of feeding you and making you feel appreciated. So, yes? January 25th, okay? So please, if you're able to donate, donate blood. Okay. Some of the things I'm going to mention, I already mentioned. It is September 7th, which was Pearl Harbor. December 7th, I'm sorry. Today. So 82 years ago, a great number of people sacrificed for us. It also is a day of celebration. As mentioned, it's the first night of Hanukkah. And on a lighthearted note, it is the end of Medicare enrollment, which means all those commercials go away, okay? And I want to wish everybody a happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, and happy holidays in general, no matter the holiday you celebrate. Sandra would like some pictures afterwards, so please don't disappear immediately. With that, is there a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
And this is the one motion that does not get discussion. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're set.